You done with your Oreo?
Yeah, done with my Oreo.
Okay, good.
Do
we really know what happened? The brother did that.
The brother, that's what I thought too.
I mean, that seems like kind of obvious. You just want to talk about death.
Yeah. I mean,
Murdery thing.
Energy. Yeah, so that's our little warm-up for the day. Okay, you take the water. So, what's up? Welcome to Wednesday.
Wednesday.
What
are we doing again?
A podcast.
Okay, so glad we
cleared that up right at the outset.
Let's just get right to it.
This is Mystery Murdery Thingy.
I'm Chloe.
I'm Mario. And this is the podcast where we talk about mysteries.
And murderies.
And thingies.
And thingy. Like what kind? Whatever. Okay. We're moving on.
Cool. It took like a million years to get started, so we lost all our energy.
Energy.
That's why we did
the
warm-up.
We were coming up the stairs. I was like, oh yeah, let's do this. And my computer is fucked up.
Yeah, so then we spent like 20 fucking minutes like trying to get everything situated. And so cool.
So I'm going to read off my phone.
Good for you. I think more people should read things off their phones. It's like the fashionable thing to do these days.
No,
that would the exact opposite.
Oh.
Obviously. We were going to talk about...
Okay, wait. So if you could get, like, the Times, the Atlantic, and, like...
The Washington Post.
And, like, the Washington Post physically delivered to your door every day, would you?
No, because it'd just be too inconvenient to have all that paper.
Then you would never read as much news as you do now, I don't think. Like, ever.
I mean, I used to read physical papers, like, when I was in, like, college. But it was just, like, a lot easier to get them. They would just, like, have them on campus or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was kind of nice. But I don't feel like it makes sense anymore.
Everything is at the tip of our fingers.
Well, I use all that paper anyway, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Newspaper is also well recycled and well used.
That's
like
true.
in my glassblowing class, we used it to sculpt.
That's true. There is a lot of reusing being done with. Yeah. Is this interesting? Is this good?
No,
radio
this is
content?
boring as fuck.
Okay, cool.
We're gonna do some mystery. Okay, so you said yours is murdery.
Mine is very murdery. It also kind of ties into one that we've done before. So I guess, am I gonna go first?
Yeah, you said you wanted to go first.
You said that you wanted to talk about Mozzie.
Oh, I did want to talk about Mozzie.
Who's Mozzie?
We were just talking about. Okay, so Mozzie is my roommate's cat. And we were just talking about how, like, cats are weird.
Cats
are
very
really
weird.
freaky. They
Chloe,
really freak me out sometimes.
Yeah,
They're,
I was
like,
going to
a weird
say...
enigma.
You say that, like, every single time we walk by your roommate's two cats. You're like, cats are weird. They're weird.
I don't
know.
like,
Mozzie was, like, he was, like, moving his head around, like, you can't see me, but, like, every which way, you know? Looking at something which we obviously could not see.
It looked like he was looking at a bug that was flying.
Right. And we tried to, like, see what it was, but it was, like, invisible as shit, so... I think he was hallucinating.
When I was watching Family Guy, Quagmire gave his cat to Lois to babysit for the weekend, and he was like, wow, you hold so many mysteries, or, like, something like that. It was really weird.
That's pretty funny. Sounds like something Quagmire would say.
Anyway.
Giggity. So
let's get okay.
So
juicy,
let's
weird.
Let's get into it. This is one that is kind of, like I said, similar to a previous one. I'm gonna do the Japanese Paraquat Poisonings. So very, very murdery, very mysterious.
Whoa.
So this happened started on April 30th, 1985.
The 80s. Fuck.
So this is like the mid-80s in Fukuyama, Japan. Right?
Okay.
And apparently, like, a thing in Japan, like, at that time, I assume now as well,
I
probably.
want to go to Japan.
That would be really cool.
Shout out to Japan.
Dennis almost went to Japan. My brother Dennis. He really loves, like, Japan and, like, you know, things that are Asian. Like his fiance. And, like...
That was a great segue.
And, like, anime and, like, Japanese culture and shit. He's into it, which I think is cool. Anyway, so apparently a thing there is, like, there's a bunch of vending machines on the streets, which I guess dispense, like, you know, sodas and, like, the, like, vitamin drink things that I'm going to talk about, but also, like, porn and, like, alcohol. I mean, at least at that time. Like, you could just buy alcohol on the street from a vending machine. And it's like,
wow.
Wait, aren't, like, underage kids going to buy it? And apparently they definitely would. And, like, other people were like, we should probably not do that. It's kind of funny. I don't know
crazy.
if they still have them, but in 1985 they definitely did. Because they, like, talked about them.
Imagine.
I can only
College
imagine.
campus. They're, like, banned on campus, you know?
Right. At Davidson they banned kegs, which I thought was kind of dumb. They would just buy cases of beer. Like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
But anyway.
We're getting really off topic. Let's try to get it together.
Okay.
Energy.
Energy. So, okay, this is very murdery, so we probably shouldn't be laughing quite as much.
Okay, but let's get... Yes.
Okay, cool. So...
Mystery.
Yes, my mystery. The Japanese Paraquat murders. I'll just fucking start over. So, April 30th, 1985. This was in Fukuyama, Japan. A person, you know, this... I'm not sure if it was a man or a woman, actually, drank a popular vitamin drink called Orinamen C that was left on, like, top of one of the vending machines they have on the street. Which, again, like, line the streets. They have, like, millions of these fucking things. Apparently, only the United States has more of them. And it's a much smaller country. So... Wow. This person, unfortunately, later that day, did die of poisoning, like, several hours later. And when they examined the body, they found that this person had been poisoned by what's called paraquat. Paraquat is a highly potent pesticide that's used, like, in a lot of agricultural settings. Now, when it's used in the agricultural settings, it's, like, very diluted. So typically it doesn't, like, cause a lot of harm. Unless you have, like, very, like, extended, you know, exposure, like the workers who are, like, spraying it and shit. Yeah. But when it's not diluted, it's extremely poisonous to humans.
Whoa.
Like, to the point where if you're not treated within, like, an hour or two, you will die.
That's so scary.
Yeah. So, one of the cases, because there's not a whole lot of information out there about this one, so I didn't have, for example, like, a list of victims, although there were 12 in all that are thought to have been killed in this mass poisoning.
That's a
12
lot of people.
Yeah. But there was one case that was kind of detailed, so I'll just talk about it. It's kind of a typical case. And it's, the victim's name is Haruo Otsu. And he was actually on his way to go fishing, which is kind of makes it even more sad. He was just, like, going to do what he loved. And he bought 2 bottles of Orinamen C from a vending machine. Well, he bought one and then he got a second one, right? What he thought was that this was just one of, like, the random ones that apparently sometimes they would just give out as, like, a free one. Which is kind of, like, how this, like, killer, like, tricked people into doing this. Which we'll get more into. So this person, like, drank both of them, right? And about halfway through drinking the second bottle, he starts feeling sick. He, you know, goes to the hospital, like, several hours later, and he ends up dying the next day.
Oh my god.
After the excruciating pain. The way that this kills you is, like, pretty fucked up.
So this is, like, devious. Like, this is...
Very much so.
Like, what type of
And we will talk about that. We will definitely get into that.
Okay.
And that was part of, like, the coverage of it too when I was reading, like, contemporaneous news stories that you know, what kind of person would do this? Like, this deviant kind of person, like, they talked about it in, like, definitely, like, those terms. Like, who is this person amongst us that would do this? So all in all, there were 12 people who are thought to have been killed between September 11th to November 17th, 1985, connected with these mass poisonings. Now, the reason I'm kind of hedging that is because paraquat is actually the cause of death in a lot of cases in Japan at this time. There were some accidental deaths because, again, it was used in the agricultural settings, and it was really easily obtained in Japan. Although it is, like, highly toxic in its undiluted form, it's not really that well regulated in a lot of countries, or highly regulated maybe. Like Japan, the UK, don't have any rules really besides, like, you have to get a license to have it. In the United States, you have to get, like, a license, and there's, like, one other thing, and it's more highly regulated in some other countries, but you can get it pretty easily. And it's, like I said, almost certain to kill the person who's poisoned with it. So what, this killer would have known is that they could put this into, these drinks, put the drink on, like, top of the vending machine or in the slot, and that these people would definitely drink it because they're not expecting it, and that they would definitely die. But, why this person kind of does this, like, indiscriminate killing, that's, I think it kind of gets into this, like, whole discussion of, like, what kind of killer is this, right? Ooh. Like, clearly this is a serial killer, but, I think there's kind of two main types, right? Like, process killers and product killers. Clearly, this killer was a process killer.
Okay, explain to me what those are.
So a process killer is a serial killer who is all about how the murder is done. So they'll take, a long time killing the person or with the body. It'll be well planned out. It'll involve, many steps. Maybe, moving the person and moving the body, having the body for... Well, that's more the product killers, but they'll just really focus on, like, how it's done. They'll plan a lot. It'll be, like, well, kind of
so
like...
So they can get away with it?
Partly so they can get away with it, maybe, but also just because the ideation of killing is what it's all about for them. Like, the moment itself and the aftermath, the thrill is almost over at that point. It's knowing that they have the control, knowing that, like, the life of that other person is in their hands.
Oh.
And they talked about how, the police just theorized that maybe what this killer would do was, poison these, and we should say, obviously, this is, like, extremely reprehensible. Like, in no way are we, like, glorifying this or anything. It's just, it's fascinating. But, what this person may have done was, poison the bottles and then, stood maybe at some distance away from the machine and just waited so that they could actually see the person take it. And maybe that was, like, their, kind of climax of the experience for them, So the other main type of killer would be a product killer. So a product killer is more about the killing itself, and then, the moment of killing and the way that they're, like, doing it. And then also the, the body or the aftermath, right? So maybe they, will, like, have the body for a long time, or commit necrophilia with the body, or, cut it up, do different things with it. I think, that this is the one that's, like, creepier. Like, my stomach is, like, turning, just, like, in any way mentioning these things, right? But, these are things that happen. Like, people really did this shit. I think that's part of what's, like, fucking scary about this. And also why you have to, like, break it down and, like, try to understand why these people did this.
Yeah, like, the motive.
Right. And that's what's kind of one of the creepiest things about this one, about the Japanese Paraquat murders, is that, like, what is the fucking motive? Yeah. There was no note. There was no admission. No one ever took credit for it or whatever. No one was ever caught.
Mine doesn't have a motive either.
It's just, like, pure evil. Just, like, why would anyone have done this? What was the fucking point, right?
Was it more than one type of drink?
It was mainly just the one, but it was a couple of different ones. What if they were going
after the company?
That's something that I'll kind of get into with a copycat or kind of a precursor, really, to this in a minute. But it doesn't seem like that's the case with these particular ones. But I also wanted to read just like a little quote. So this is actually from a Japanese psychologist, who, you know, they kind of termed this, you know, what this killer is, like a new breed of thrill-seeking criminal, or what they called in Japanese a yukaihan.
Oh, they have a word for it.
Yeah, they have like a word for like this type of killer. So if we're talking about like process killers, product killers, in the Japanese nomenclature, this would be what it would be, a yukaihan.
I also think process killer and progress killer are very...
Product killer.
Or product killer is very restraining.
True, there's obviously many more, you know, flavors or types.
Like thrill-seeking.
Exactly.
So would that be...
There's like subgroups and things like that.
Process?
I would think it would be more process, yeah. Yeah, definitely. So the quote from, this is Professor Susumu Oda, was, quote, "They cynically enjoy superiority by imagining the victims groaning and do not feel any remorse."
Oh, what the fuck?
Close quote. So that was his kind of like profiling of this type of killer, was that, you know, they would have no remorse with it. It's that whole idea that you're like above it, or these people are like ants or something. You know, that's like a typical kind of like, you might say, psychosis or delusion with people who like commit acts like these, right? That they think they're like better than everyone, but for no reason, just because they have like whatever, something in their past, or an ideation that takes hold of them, or
so then
a mental illness.
How does that idea lead to poisoning people?
I think a typical...
Like, I'm better than you. Is it like a power thing then?
I would think so, yeah. And again, no person was ever caught for this, so like, who's to say in this particular instance? But I think like a typical progression, you know, is like you have some kind of like traumatic event or injury or illness or something which causes like your mind to become imbalanced, right? Or you start to have some kind of delusion or psychosis. And then from that, it leads to like thoughts of violence for whatever reason, right? Because you're paranoid, or because like some part of your brain is like taking over that's like more aggressive or something, in a sense, right, so to speak. And then you start thinking about violence in a general way, and then you start thinking about it in a specific way about specific people, and then you start to ideate, which is like making a plan to commit violence, and then you commit the act of violence.
Wow.
So
would that be like the top?
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, and I'm not a psychologist, or like, I've never even studied these things, right? But just from reading a lot of true crime stuff and listening to it, I think that's like, you know, kind of how it usually goes. So, you know, this person may have spent months, years even, like thinking of this plan, like carefully planning, how am I going to get the paraquat? Where am I going to store it? How am I going to make sure I don't get poisoned? How much is it going to cost? Am I going to pay in cash so that there's no record of it? Like, and that, again, this is like the most premeditated of premeditated murders, right? So in a sense, in our legal system, this is like kind of the worst of the worst, right? Because it did involve all of that. There was no point where they were like, well, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do this. You know, why the fuck would I poison a bunch of people and kill them?
Yeah, because you know there's all of these steps to take.
Right. All of these opportunities to stop. And again, if you or anyone you know is thinking of doing anything like this, like, stop, get help, talk to a medical or mental health professional.
That's what they're there for.
Yes. Because, like, you know, and it's kind of like with, and of course the Chicago Tylenol murders are what the comparison is to this, right? With whoever the fuck did that, you know, with any of these, like, indiscriminate killings, you know, it's just like these people who do this, they're obviously, they committed terrible acts, not good humans, but in a sense, we can have empathy for them to know that if they had just stopped and, like, thought about it and, like, tried to have empathy for other people, maybe they wouldn't have done it in a different way than, like, a crime of passion. So, like, I don't know, even though it is the worst of the worst, maybe these people are, in a sense, kind of redeemable at some point in their lives, right?
I suppose.
I don't know. But again, you know, it's really dangerous to try to understand them in any way, right? Too, because
why?
Well, because these are totally inexplicable murders too. You know, like what is the motive? You know, I mean, we're left with like all these, you know, kind of like questions of what, you know, surrounding this, right? Like, just what do you think? Like, what was the basic motive in doing this? Like power, right? Like that sense of like satisfaction to know that you had the other person's like life in your hands or something, or like you have total control over them. Is that enough of a motive?
I don't know. That's a lot to think about.
I know,
you think
right?
that is it enough of a motive to kill? I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Because once for some reason, like, I mean, everybody knows life is valuable, and then to like hold it in your, like, you have this like weird fantasy that you're like holding it in your hand right now, and you can like take something valuable.
There's like
even though it helps no one ever.
I know, right? There's like an anime that's kind of like this, Death Note.
Oh, you mean where they like write
that?
down where they write down a name and then in like that notebook or whatever, and that person dies?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think that's from after this, because this was 1985. But that kind of reminds me of it, actually. It's like that's how like the character becomes like obsessed with it. But for him, it's like getting retribution on people. Like that's his motive. Because he's killing, like, criminals and, like, people who've done bad things.
Yeah, but then he's playing God. What if he's playing God? What if this guy is, like,
that is
totally
kind of what it is,
out
right?
of it?
Yeah,
you know?
He thinks just, like, well, I'm God, so it doesn't matter. I will bring the angel of death upon you or some shit, right?
Why do people think they're God?
That's another type of serial killer, actually. Like, the like, religious killer. It's, like, a religious fanaticism killer. And sometimes they do. They, like, think they're God, or that God told them to kill people. And, like, that's their motive, because they, like, hear voices in their head. You know, because, again, like, sometimes these things also stem not... And, again, we should make clear, like, people who have mental illness are vastly more likely to be a victim of violence than a perpetrator of violence.
Very true. Very, very true.
But there are very limited instances in which, like, a psychosis, a delusion, a mental illness that causes auditory or visual hallucinations can like lead a person to violence, right? So that's what's so mysterious about this too, because what if it was that? We would never fucking know.
What about, I think we talked about this before, but like trauma and grief. Could like straight up depression lead you to killing somebody?
Lead you to killing somebody, or lead like this? Would it have led this person to kill somebody?
This person.
I don't think so, because I don't know. Depression tends to make you like kind of lethargic and not productive, whereas this killer seems like
very planning. You're right.
This person seems like they would be high functioning. You know, that they would exist within society as a more or less like normal person, right? Maybe they're upper middle class. Maybe they maybe they own their own business. Maybe they work as like an upper level manager, a vice president, something of that nature. I mean, I would think this would be like a high functioning person. Don't you think? Like if we were doing a psychological profile of this person, of the killer.
Yes,
whatever.
Because this takes guts. I mean, I guess that doesn't mean. I guess somebody who's sloppy takes guts too. But this is, I think, like we touched on before, like planning. Like you could have stopped at any time, but you didn't.
Right.
Oh, that is so weird. Oh,
yeah.
so...
I know. Just like thinking about like them making like lists, like things to get to kill a bunch of people. Like it's just like this is so chill. And what's to me like the most kind of creepy about all of it is that it's all fucking real. You know, like it's not some like made up killer who comes in your nightmares or something. Like there was a person in Japan in the mid-'80s who thought, like, I'll do this, and then they killed 12 people. And then they didn't kill any more people like this. I mean, there are some other reasons, too, but it also just, like, then it just stopped.
So
why?
What?
That's another mystery around this.
What was there an investigation?
There was an investigation, but it led nowhere to nothing. Ever. No, as far as I found, and there wasn't all that much information out there, but I read some articles and stuff like we talk about at the end. There was no suspects. There was no physical evidence. No one was ever arrested or charged or convicted of anything connected to this at all, ever. So again, like, I feel like this would be like a Dexter, right? Like, a person who could, like, be friends with the police. Who could, like, know the guys who, like, stock the machines. Like, to go to that level of detail of, like, I'm gonna cover every single track. And I think maybe that's why they were never caught. And, like, nothing was ever found. But, you know.
Oh, where they then have that power to...
Because, again, to take control over, like, every single aspect of everything in their lives.
Ooh, that's even more interesting.
Right? What if it were, like Monk? You know that show Monk?
Yes.
With Tony Shalhoub? I think that's his name. If he were, like, you know, Monk, but also mixed with Dexter, where he killed people. He was, like, a detective, like, who was, like, investigating his own murders. Would that be a good show?
Maybe.
Or would it get too, like, weird in every single way?
I think it depends on how you show it, and I think you need to... The more psychological you make it, the better people will like it. People love that shit.
True, and that's kind of like sometimes what they do with Sherlock, where it's like, oh, but did you do it? Of course it never is, and it never would be. But, you know, someone at some point is like, you've been around a lot of murders, Sherlock. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, this whole question, like, of why they stopped. I think that's, like, an interesting kind of thing to look at, too, just on its own. Of course, we don't know why the killer would have stopped poisoning them, but the people who, like, run the vending machines, they started putting up, like, a bunch of, like, signs on all of them being like, don't drink drinks that are, like, left in the thing, and, like, on top, like, don't drink them, they're poison, like, don't drink them. You know, just, like, big red signs, like, my God. So that really helped. They spent, like, over $1 million, like, you know, just posting all of those signs and everything.
Yeah.
But there were some kind of, like, copycats. But thankfully, I don't think anyone was actually killed in any of the copycat attempts. So there was some tainted milk left in schools in central Japan.
What?
Lime sulfur was also put into some, I think, sodas. And there also seemed to kind of be an increase in the number of suicides by Paraquat in 1985. And just for context, there were 1,402 suicide attempts just by Paraquat in 1984, the year before.
Wow.
Because, again, it's pretty easily obtained, right?
But you said it like it's really painful.
It's extremely painful. The way that it kills you is that it...
Ooh, do I want to know?
I mean, essentially, it shuts down your organs.
Oh, that's freaky.
Mainly the lungs. So, typically, people who die of paraquat poisoning will die of, like, their lungs collapsing. Or, you know, just, like, fibrosis in their lungs. Like, they can't get enough oxygen uptake to, like, continue to live, you know. I forget what the like, paratax or something like that. What the, like, medical term is for it. But yes, it takes sometimes a while, like, days to up to a week, I think. Or maybe more.
Whoa.
And also, it is extremely painful. Yeah. But, I don't know. Maybe those people weren't aware of that. They just knew that it kills you. Because it will kill you. Like, there's no antidote to it.
And then
there's no way to treat it, really, after those first few hours.
And that's another question, like, how deep are they in this? How much do they know about the drug? Like, do they know specifically what they're doing to people? Or are they like, this is bad, dunk, like, you know?
Yeah, I would definitely think this person would know.
I think so too, yeah.
You know, yeah, for sure. They would have done, like, all their research. Yeah. There was also kind of a related case that I wanted to talk about. It's actually from the UK. And in that case, a wife actually killed off her husband with Paraquat. I believe she put it in his coffee.
Nice. No, bad.
You'll definitely think it's bad. It wasn't anything that he didn't do anything wrong. In order to actually get him out of the way, so that she could be with her young lover, who was like a neighbor of theirs, who she would apparently be screwing every morning after he left for work, and every other chance that she got. Yep. So
be faithful, everybody.
Right.
Don't be an asshole.
Don't be a dick. So there was one time when they were getting together for one of their little trysts, morning, you know.
Oh,
menage a deux.
Did she get caught? Was that the...
She did, in fact, get caught. That particular morning, her husband was leaving early to go on a fishing trip, actually. But what she didn't know was that the weather got really bad, and that he and his friend had to turn back. Therefore, he came home extremely early, finding her and the young lover in bed together. So, 2 months after that little incident, she decided to kill him. Again, she probably thought about it, and then she was like, how am I going to do it? Researched Paraquat. You know, it's the, you know, that's how it happens. And then she actually broke up with her young lover and found another one, and then about a year later, doctors finally figured out that her late husband had actually been poisoned with Paraquat. They told the police, and the police kind of took it from there, right? In terms of, like, holding her responsible. But, yeah, that was just kind of like an interesting case that I read about in one of the, in actually an excerpt from a book about it. So, there was also this kind of like, kind of copycat attempt, which was to extort money from food companies. This is what I was mentioning earlier, where it like kind of ties into that extortion thing. And this was by a group calling themselves Mystery Man with 21 Faces.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say mystery murdery thingy.
No, not mystery murdery thingy.
Because I think now, like, mystery is, like, default in my head. It, like...
That's true.
It, like, finishes itself.
Right. It's like autofill in Google search. It just goes in there. But no, not mystery murdery thingy. Mystery Man with 21 Faces.
21 Faces.
Which is very strange. So that group had spent a year, actually the previous year in 1984, threatening to poison people unless they were given large amounts of cash by the food companies, right, that made these products. And what they would actually do is place cyanide-tainted food on supermarket shelves, including in candy.
Oh, God.
Now, don't worry. They also did put large labels on the packaging warning people that it was poison. And no one was hurt at all. So it just did not seem to be a sincere attempt to try to poison people. But they did use real poison and real food on real supermarket shelves, which is kind of fucked up.
Then why would they put a label on it?
I guess just to show people they were serious, I guess. It's like firing a warning shot, kind of, I suppose.
Do they know
not
who
totally
it was?
Sure. No, they were never caught.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That one's also pretty weird.
But they actually did send an open letter to a newspaper, like, saying that they were going to stop doing it. But they never got any money, either. Yeah, that one's... It's very strange. So, just to get back, a little bit to the Paraquat murders, kind of finish it all up here. The police, like I said before, investigated, but that never went anywhere. No one was ever held accountable. But, this does kind of, like, I think tie into, like we were talking about before, the Chicago Tylenol murders. And I just had a little bit of, like, discussion topics we could do on that here at the end. So, they were both, like, extremely random. You know, like, there was no... That's also, I think, a sort of very unusual aspect of this in terms of serial killers. Serial killers tend to kill within their own, race group. They tend to, like, kill people who are, close to them, like close family members, people they know from the community. So to just be completely indiscriminate, like, does not matter who dies at all, seems like very strange, just kind of aspect of of both of those, right? And that's the part you agree with me. Good. So, I think it's also just kind of chilling. Yeah. How they both kind of, like, play on these, like, basic human instincts, right? For the Chicago Tylenol murders, you seek medicine when you're sick. So that's, like, how I'm going to catch them, right? It's almost like they're a spider, and this is, like, catching them in their, like, web, right? If you want to think about it that way. And then, with the Japanese Paraquat murders, like, everyone wants to get something for nothing, right? So who's going to turn down a free drink that they find, like, in the vending machine? Wouldn't you just drink it?
Right.
Everyone would, right? So, it's these...
I would.
The killer obviously had, like, a deep understanding of, like... Maybe not a deep understanding, but at least some understanding of, like, human psychology. And, like, what people were going to do. So, it just, again, if you're, like, thinking about the profile... this is probably a pretty highly educated person. And then, just kind of, like, how this, like, intersects with, like, government regulation of poisonous substances. Like, maybe they should be, like, putting a little bit more control on these things.
Wacha!
Right. Maybe they have since 1985. I don't know. So, they're both really creepy. I think the Japanese Paraquat murder is definitely one of the, like, creepier killings that I've, like, read about. It's just, like, so random, so mysterious, we basically know nothing about the people or person who did this, because it could have been more than one person, who knows? But
it's just
it is really killing, or really, interesting.
It's just shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, again, why would anyone do this?
And they weren't even caught.
Never. Nothing was found, yeah.
They're both mysteries.
So what's yours?
Oh, my mystery?
Yeah.
My murder?
I want to hear about it. Energy.
My murder mystery?
Energy.
It's my turn? I get to talk about me now?
It's your turn.
I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about
I
actually
would hope not.
A very wonderful woman who was a victim to... Was it random? I don't know. We'll discuss. We'll discuss.
Okay, cool.
So, please stop.
Oh, sorry.
I am talking about Missy Bevers. So, this happened in April 18th, 2016. So, it happened pretty recently.
Oh.
In Midlothian, Texas. Do you know where that is?
I don't, but I've heard that name before.
Midlothian, Texas. I think they said it was south of Dallas or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But I found this one because it also has very creepy footage to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so let's talk about her. Terry Missy Bevers. She was... Did I say Beavers before? Okay, good. Because I typed Beavers, but it's not. It's Bevers.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure you said Bevers.
Okay. Born in Graham, Texas in 1970. So she is a fitness instructor at a national fitness movement called Camp Gladiator. And they, like, appear in churches and stuff.
Oh, so they're like a cult.
No.
I'm just kidding. Oh, they're like a fitness cult. Oh, a Christian fitness cult. Oh, cool.
Cool, got it.
I would join.
So,
if I like to exercise.
So she's a mother of 3, and her daughter Hannah says that she was the biggest role model in her life.
Aww.
So, let's talk about the murder. April 18th, 2016, Missy was found unresponsive on the floor of Creekside Church in Midlothian, Texas. She was there, she was found at around 5 a.m. And she was there because she was there to teach a 5 a.m. fitness class. So she was she got there early. And she was found by one of her students.
Oh my God.
And so she was found bludgeoned. She was bludgeoned to death. Puncture wounds to the head and the chest, and evidence of struggle.
Oh my God.
So the footage that goes along with this is the weirdest part of the entire story.
What is it footage of?
It's footage of the suspected killer just walking around the church.
What?
Yeah, it was released to the public because they had no fucking clue who it is, but it gets weirder. This individual was dressed head to toe in fake SWAT gear. I'm talking helmet, gloves, shin guards, tactical vest, a shirt with the word police on it, everything.
What?
And so the footage is just of that person wandering around, meandering. To me, it looks like this person's being very casual and maybe waiting for something. Are they waiting for Missy? Who knows? But they're just wandering around. They're opening doors and shit, and they're walking around casually breaking windows and making it look like a robbery, even though nothing was stolen. Even she still had her ring on her finger even.
That's so weird.
So
he was just walking around busting shit?
Yes.
At 3:30 in the morning inside of a church?
A little bit after. So the footage is from 3:50, and she would have gotten there on 4:20, 4:30 to start setting up for class.
But yeah, I guess the question is did he know she was coming?
That's the question. Yes. So what's also interesting about this is it a disguise? So It's very well disguised. They don't know the gender of this person or who facial features or anything, what they look like, because they had a helmet and a face shield on.
Right.
So the Midlothian police, this is from a quote from the Dallas Observer. The Midlothian police will later report in a search warrant that in, quote, certain portions of the footage, the suspect appears to have what has been described as a feminine sway or walk. The footage also indicates that the suspect has a distinct walk that is indicative of some type of injury which affects the right leg / foot. The killer, end quote. The killer also appears to use a wall to remain steady. The video indicates that the killer is a little on the heavy side and stands between 5'2" and 5'7". And that begs the question, how does the way you walk play into your gender? A lot? A little? Not at all? Is that a valid argument?
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, I think men and women tend to walk differently. I mean, each individual is unique, obviously.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I think you could say one way or the other, but it's not 100%, but I don't know. I think that has some legitimacy to me.
Yeah. So, okay, there is also outdoor surveillance that shows a white / silver Nissan Altima creeping around the parking lot, 3 a.m., just kind of mindlessly cruising. At one point, he flashes his headlights.
Or she.
He or she flashes their headlights. And it's weird because, I mean, even to this day, the investigators still don't know who was in that car and they want to talk to that person, especially since they don't really think it was part of the murder.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Hmm.
So a lot to come out of this was, the family really struggled. The husband and family, they got a lot of shit. Especially the husband, Brandon Bevers, and the father-in-law, Bevers, fuck, I said Bevers, okay. Especially the husband, Brandon Bevers, and the father-in-law, Randy Bevers. So there was lots and lots of social media slander, it was out of control.
For what?
We'll touch on it later. So he, they always look at the husband first, right?
Of course.
he had a rock solid alibi. He was on a fishing trip in Biloxi, Mississippi, which is like an 8-hour drive or something like that.
This is like the third fishing trip that's come up during this episode.
That's so funny. Yeah, he was on a fishing trip. He was accounted for and everything. Like the FBI, like investigators, like drove up there and talked to people, and they're like, "Yeah, he was here." The father-in-law, Randy Bevers, was also slandered on social media, and they looked at him as the killer. So he had a wait, where did I talk about this? Okay, yeah, he had a bit of like bad luck. And I think this is very interesting and very rare. He, like, had genuine bad luck, and he was able to prove that it was bad luck. And I mean that by, that the day of the morning of the news conference, he turned in a bloody t-shirt. So police obtained a search warrant for a bloody t-shirt that Randy had dropped off at the cleaners the morning of the news conference. Interview with, the police department. Quote, The relatives got 2 dogs. The Chihuahua and the big dog got into a fight. The big dog got the Chihuahua around the throat, okay? And when I got the big dog off of it, the Chihuahua was laying on the ground bleeding, end quote, he said. Quote, I headed to the animal clinic to see if we could save it. It didn't make it. So carrying the dog from the house to the veteran clinic, it was bloody, end quote. And then they tested the blood, and it was confirmed to be animal blood.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know, I thought that was a really interesting tidbit that, like, how often does that happen? Where,
right.
Like, this series of events, like seriously, like, I can prove it and everything.
Yeah, but I could definitely see that being in, like, an episode of, like, CSI or Law and Order or something.
Yes.
They're like, no, I swear to God, it's dog's blood. I know. No, you could take me downtown. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's fucking dog's blood. So,
yeah.
Whatever.
But it also was one of those things that social media web sleuths took it and ran with it.
Sure. Some of the subtleties get lost on the internet.
Exactly. So
everything you read on the internet isn't necessarily true.
Wait, what?
Sorry, I didn't mean to, like, have a Santa's real moment
Dude.
for you, but, you know.
Dude, that changes everything.
Everyone's got to learn sometime. I know, right?
There aren't 2 hot singles looking for me in my area.
They are just in your area. Yes.
Wow.
At least 2.
Wow.
For you.
For me.
Probably more. Hate. Okay, get back to your story.
Okay, so yeah, bad luck. And he was like, one of the things that they also did was, like, he wanted to clear that up so the media didn't get with it, because it would have been lost in the media too. So that's why he, like, came up first and was like, here, actually, this is going to be suspicious.
Right.
Here's what happened.
Right.
So, like I said, the web sleuths, they went really far. Invasion of privacy, straight up slander, harassment, online, in person to Missy's husband and children. So one photo that showed up was a side-by-side comparison of a picture of, like, Randy Bevers, the father-in-law, like, at
Bevers?
I like wrote Bevers sometimes. I don't know why.
Autocorrect.
Randy, yes, I think that's what it was. Randy Bevers, and it's like he's like in, like, golf gear or something, and then next to it is, like, a still from the surveillance video showing the unknown individual. It's like there's just a lot of harsh and, like, far-fetched comparisons made. People pointed out that his legs have an outward pronation, and that he has a stocky build, and he has a scar on his leg from a previous surgery, which mean he could, like, match the killer's gait, and, like, could have that foot problem that the police talked about, and this, that, and the other thing. And one of Missy's coworkers at Camp Gladiator was also targeted. He was put as like the jealous wife, because his wife had a short, stocky build and a broken foot. Someone even stole their trash to, like, look through it.
That's
like
crazy.
A random person. So there are multiple Facebook groups dedicated to the Bever case, and people are doing all sorts of digging, which they also discuss this in a lot of the articles as, like, helpful but not helpful.
Right. It's like, it's cool when it works out, but all the other times when they're just, like, kind of harassing people.
Yes, and this is one of those times.
Right. Because, like, yeah, I mean, it's like you're like, trying to do something good, right?
Yeah.
Which is, like, solve a crime. But then also, like, you're not the police. You know, so, like, probably don't try to be the police.
Yes.
Because it's not probably going to work out well for you.
Yes. So, yeah, people are digging. They're, like, stalking the family's online presence. They're looking at mutual friends. They're trying to find, like, what a possible motive. The speculation gets crazy. They targeted people who had, like, already been cleared by investigators. And the police received between 1,300 and 1,400 tips, but most of them were speculation. So, here's my theory. I believe that this wasn't a random attack, although there is a good argument for it not being a random attack. Or for it being a random attack, but I don't think it was random. So, as we know, most victims know who their murderer is, right? And I mean, it's no different in this case. Like, for some reason, she was targeted, stalked, and killed. And I say all that based on the video. Because I think that's the most important piece of evidence you're ever going to get. Mm-hmm. It's just very oddly, eerily, like, nonchalant. This person, I feel like they had it planned. The individual had to know her schedule. They had to know that she teaches a class at this church at this time. Know that, like, she was going to get there early, so they got there early too. They decided to make it look like a robbery, but which, I don't know. I'm still not 100% sure about that, because they did a bad job.
Yeah, I'm not sure so much that they necessarily were making it look like a robbery. It seemed like they were almost, like, defiling the place.
Yeah, it was more like straight up vandalism.
Yeah, and it seems also from what you're describing of the video, like this person was fairly familiar with those surroundings. You know, they were casually walking around the church at, like, 3 in the morning or whatever, 3:50 in the morning.
Yeah, I think so. But also, it could be seen as just exploring.
True. That's true. But, in either case, it does seem more likely than not that it was a person, you know, with whom she was familiar.
I think this person was waiting for her.
That's what it definitely seems like.
Yeah. So there's, like, a 30 to 40 minute window between when the camera footage was captured, which was 3:50 a.m., and when she came in at around 4:20 or 4:30 a.m. But that timeline also raises more questions, like, was there footage of the killing?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, or of Missy entering, or of the killer leaving. And the explanation for this is the police department confirmed that lots of the church cameras just simply weren't functional. And it was just, like, dumb luck that it wasn't also on camera. Especially, like, the outside ones in the northwest corners. That's what they said. Was there somebody, like, footage of somebody leaving, getting into a car, like a Nissan Altima, mayhaps?
Right.
So that also leads to maybe it wasn't a targeted attack at all, and Missy was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But if she was at the wrong place at the wrong time, what the fuck was some rando doing in SWAT gear, vandalizing a church at 4 a.m. on a Monday morning?
Well, that's what I was thinking. I mean, we were talking about motive earlier. What would be the motive for that?
There's this whole thing on Reddit and Facebook and Web Sleuths that Missy allegedly had an affair, and that Brandon Bevers, the husband, hired someone to kill her, which I guess is possible, but I think the affair is all talk, and I think it's all speculation. Another question, why didn't this person have a gun? Which at first I didn't really think was relevant until I was reading and people were talking about, like, this is Texas. If you see somebody in all SWAT gear, why wouldn't they have a gun?
I was also thinking that if it were a professional killing, wouldn't they use a gun?
Exactly.
And not, like, fuck up the place?
Yeah, this was personal.
It definitely seems like it was more personal. I mean, when you kill someone by blunt force trauma, it's up close and personal. You know, it takes repeated blows. Again, you have to, like... Yeah, it seems more like a crime of passion than a dispassionate, contract that you're fulfilling.
Yeah. Do we know for sure that this person didn't have a gun?
I guess not for sure, but they never recovered a shell casing or...
Nope.
There was no bullet holes in her or in the church.
Nope.
So, they didn't use it if they had it, I guess.
So, another theory, which I kind of accept, is that it could have been a teenager, an adolescent, based on the video. So, someone within the community decided to dress up, go out, and break in somewhere because because they're bored, or because they're acting out this fantasy. Maybe they're mentally unstable. But again, this person looks like they're waiting for something to happen, whether it's Missy or not. So it might not even, maybe they're just waiting for something to happen. It's either Missy or it's not. It's
maybe
just
they were
something.
going to kill the first person who came into the church that day.
Yeah.
Could be.
But if they were there
that kind of reminds me of, I don't remember, it's maybe a few years ago, there were these, like, teenagers who would go around in, was it, like, South Carolina or Alabama or something, and just kill, like, the first black person they saw on the street.
Wow,
and
that's
shit like
fucked
that.
up.
Yeah, and this was, like, not very long ago, like, maybe a few years ago.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, I can't remember all the specifics, but, like, I definitely remember.
I told myself I was going to stop
that.
swearing on this episode, but that's really fucked up.
Oh, yeah, extremely.
There's, like, no other way to describe that.
Right. But it speaks to, like, this way that, yes, with a kind of, like, delusion, like racism or like, psychosis or something, some teenager could maybe be driven to kill.
Yeah.
And just be like, I'm going to kill someone. Doesn't matter who it is. I have to do it. Because it's, like, whatever.
And I guess that parallels to yours, too.
True.
Somebody who just went crazy.
And I think it's not so much went crazy. It's like you get a delusion and then you get fixated on it. And then you begin that cycle toward ideation and action.
A focus.
Yeah, because that's just how humans are, right? We can tend to get, like, really fixated on a thing. And unfortunately for some people, it's, like, hurting or killing other people, which is terrible. I mean, for some people, it's, like, doing great art or, like, becoming great musicians or business people. But for some reason, these people think, like, oh, this is the ultimate fulfillment of my life.
Yeah. Is
to, like, do this thing where I kill people. It makes no sense to, like, the 99% of the rest of us. But, we have to, like, try to get to a better understanding of it, right? If, like, we want to stop these things and, like, prevent them. Did you have anything more, or was that pretty much yours?
That's pretty much it. There was a really good article that I read in the Dallas Observer. It was an article by Christian McFate.
Mm-hmm.
It's very well written. I looked at People Magazine Investigates articles. I looked at a website called True Noir. They had a story on there. Crime Online article by Lee Egan, and various Reddit threads.
Of course.
I more went through Reddit to look at theories and opinions and not facts. Because Reddit.
It's wait, do you mean everything on the internet isn't true? What?
What do you speak of?
Blasphemy. Oh, I should also do my sources.
Yes.
So I did read some selections from a book, Molecules of Murder by John Emsley. Molecules of Murder. Also an article by Clyde Haberman in the New York Times back from 1985. Also, the Wikipedia page for Paraquat Murders, a sort of academic, I read, like, the abstract, right, of this thing by Takeshi Ito and Yoshikazu Nakamura called Deaths from Pesticide Poisoning in Japan, 1968 to 2005, data from Vital Statistics. Very interesting, very dry. An article by Marie Okabe in UPI, by Ronald Yates in the Chicago Tribune, by Paulo Prada in Reuters and by Daniel Schwartz in CBC.
Wow. That was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of the same information, but it was good to get, like, different perspectives on it. And some, background and things like that. Like in that Molecules of Murder book, they went through exactly how Paraquat kills you. Like, down to, like, the chromosomal level.
Oh, I don't want to know about that.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. But it's kind of interesting how it kills plants, which is completely different than how it kills people. What it does to plants is it, like, basically it stops them from being able to, like, make the stuff that they use to make their cell walls.
Oh.
So it allows water to, like, seep out from the cell, and it just, like, completely dries out the plant, like the leaves, like, cell by cell by cell by cell, until it's just, like, dead.
Science, dude.
Science! It's pretty cool. So, thanks for listening, you guys. We're really excited. 35 episodes in.
We just high-fived.
It was a terrible high five. Here, let's do it again. There we go. So yeah, we're like, always super excited about Wednesday. What else? I'm just rambling now.
Do you have weird shit in the news?
I do have some weird shit in the news.
Weird shit
in the news. Weird shit in the news. Weird shit in the news.
Okay, I'll go first. So, mine's not...
Weird alert, weird alert. No. That one.
No.
I'll cut that one
No,
out.
that one's bad.
Oh, wait, no, we're not editing.
We're not editing. Because we just have a lot going on. Ooh.
We're busy people.
Wasn't that good?
It was, yeah, sure, why not? Go ahead.
Okay. So, this one's not weird. It's just fascinating.
It's called Weird Shit in the News, Chloe. Okay, read it.
You know what? This is our podcast. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Twoo.
So, World War II bomb diffused in Germany after 18,500 people were evacuated. So, basically, this happened on Sunday, August 26th, in Germany, in the city of Ludwigshafen.
Ludwigshafen.
Yes, like you said it. Thought to have been dropped by American forces, and it was discovered during construction. And I guess this is like a thing.
Yep.
Like there's lots of just like straight up bombs that are still there that could blow up.
That's very true. Also, there are a lot of unexploded ordinances in, Vietnam, Laos, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. Sudan. South Sudan, Somalia, lots of places. Yeah, it's a big problem. It's a big fucking problem. Oh, in England too, as well. Probably in the United States, for all I know.
Wow.
It's crazy, y'all.
There's like a town that uses like bombshells as their like as materials. Mm-hmm. They like build shelter with it and stuff.
Oh, I guess that'd be pretty good. Very durable material.
I don't remember where I read that.
On Reddit?
No, it wasn't on Reddit.
Okay.
I feel like it was in like a classroom setting.
Oh, a classroom setting. Were you sitting in class reading Reddit on your phone?
No.
Okay, cool.
It wasn't Reddit.
Cool. Yeah, that's totally fine. You don't have to admit it. It's cool. So I'm going to read an article by, who is this by? By Gina Martinez, from Time Magazine, and it's very fucking weird. The headline is Texas police are searching for a shackled woman seen in suspicious surveillance footage. Yeah.
More footage.
Yeah, more footage. So Texas police are currently looking for this woman to ask what the fuck was going on, because she was caught on someone's like personal, security camera at their house, knocking on like the door, ringing the doorbell or something at like 3:20 a.m. On the night of August 24th. And she had what appeared to be like restraints hanging from her right wrist, and she was like only wearing a shirt. So she like came out of the bushes And
oh my god, this is scary.
it's weird, and was just like ringing the doorbell. This is nowhere near us, right? This is in Texas, so we're cool. People in Texas, though, you be on the lookout for this woman. Ask her what the fuck's going on. Does she need help? So the Montgomery, County Sheriff's Office are looking into the suspicious incident. And by the way, she would just run away. She did this to like several houses, ring the doorbell, and then she just ran away. So who knows? But, police say that after posting the footage of the incident, they've received like a lot of claims, but they haven't really like matched anyone like missing persons. But it's also kind of grainy, so it's like kind of tough, I guess. But yeah, very weird.
Whoa, maybe she like escaped.
Could be.
She's definitely escaped somewhere.
From some kind of BTK killer. Could
What?
be.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Again,
I hope she's okay. I hope they find her.
I know, I definitely hope so. Hopefully it was just like a prank or something. I mean, I don't know. But pretty crazy. So, yeah, I think we're probably
good to go.
Probably good to go.
We are
good to go.
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 Is that gonna be our sign-off?
But
Energy. Oh wait, no, we're done. Okay, we can stop that now.
It's time to go to sleep.
Well, I want to say one other thing. Good job by you.